Hello, welcome to the Motorsport Review. I'm your host, as usual, Perry Brown, and joining me tonight are two people that I don't want to talk to. In fact, I don't want to talk to anyone. That's been the story of the day, as countless people came up to me at the office to talk to me about the Qatar Grand Prix. But I've got to record this, apparently, because that's what my life is now. So here to talk about everything that happened in Qatar is Louis. How are you doing, Louis?
Laughing my ass off because you're clearly not in a mood for this.
We're almost done. Like, just 5 more minutes and we'll be out of here. Okay, go. Okay.
I was gonna ask if you're doing okay, if you're happy, but clearly not. So just move off of the other introduction.
We're fine. I've had 24 hours. I've calmed down slightly. Right. And I've also got Eddie, who's a Red Bull fan, which is just why do I do this? Eddie, how are you?
Well, I'm clearly better than you. I'm clearly feeling absolutely better than you. That's for sure. I'm absolutely delighted. Honestly, it's kind of a mix of emotions right now. I'm feeling happiness, excitement, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of relief. Honestly,
a lot of smugness.
I look forward to Abu Dhabi. I look forward to talking about this. It has been quite an interesting weekend, so I'm excited to talk about this today.
It has been, to be fair, it has been an exciting weekend, and I think the neutral will be ecstatic about where Formula One goes to Abu Dhabi, but we have to talk about Qatar just before then. Maybe like 2 minutes talking about that, and then we'll get into like a bit of a preview perhaps instead. So yes, I did a sprint review. Oscar Piastri won that quite comfortably. It was dull as dishwasher water. It was, it was something. Could have been an email. I love that description. Yeah, it was just like, okay, fine, that was what it was. And then got up just milling around on Sunday. Got home, put the F1 on. I watched a lot of the build up, thinking I'm trying to G myself up for this race, but I'm thinking this is just going to be bland. Like, we saw that overtaking was going to be difficult. Pirelli have dictated what the strategy is going to be, so let's just get it over and done with. Let's treat the race as if it was going to be that race to begin with. At least let's treat the first 6 laps as the race we expected it to be, and then we'll get to that little bit that happened after it instead that made it a bit more exciting for some people, I guess, not me. Let's start with qualifying, and of course we got the top 3 in the top 3 positions. You've got Piastri, who just was on another level, and Lando Norris in second, Max Verstappen third. I'm going to go to you, Eddie. I was confident Max Verstappen was going to end turn 1 second place. Were you feeling the same way, or was there a bit of nerves, or were you just thinking, no, whatever we get from this is bonus?
There was a little bit of nerves, I will be honest, but I was quite confident in Max's ability to get to P2 in turn 1. We all know it was going to be stressful for Lando. You have both the championship rivals in front and behind you, so obviously the nerves are going to be 10 times worse than like Piastri having pole and Max being like way behind the two. Well, not way behind, but like behind the two. So I thought I knew that it was going to be a difficult start for Lando. So there was quite some confidence into Max that he could pull it off. He somehow did it in Vegas. He did it before that. So, but there was still some anticipation to see if McLaren could pull off a good start.
Yeah, that was true. I as I say, I was resigned to the fact that as long as Piastri kept the lead, we were okay. And then from then was sort of just expecting that would be the finishing order. Louis, were you thinking the same way, that this is our 1, 2, 3 after turn 1?
I was definitely thinking that Norris would lose P2 to Max, purely because track sides. He was on the dirty side. Nobody starts well in Qatar, going from second all the way back, as long as you're on the dirty side. So I knew he was going to lose the position. The question is by how much he would lose the position, because we know Qatar is a nice track when we watch the onboards for the drivers and to look the cars going around. It's like the perfect track to symbolize what a Formula One car can do. but for racing, it's just terrible.
Yeah,
It's easily, I think, the worst track on a calendar. Racing wise, is the worst.
I had already said to my wife before the race started, I was like, I've got to sit through this. And she went, what do you mean? I said, barring maybe only Monaco, this is probably the most boring race of the year. And the sprint, having a sprint here is like, what?
Useless.
Why? Like, what is the point? And it only told us exactly what was going to happen on the Saturday beforehand. So sort of settle in and find some good paint that needs supervising kind of level of race. I wished for at that point. I was kind of like, yeah, kind of sets it up well, doesn't it? Piastri winning the race, that would be nice. Lando Norris in third, good haul of points, and Max Verstappen still mathematically in contention in second place. But then, I mean, we have to let's talk about the incident itself first, slightly. So Hulkenberg has started on soft tyres. He's going to go around the outside of Pierre Gasly, and then Gasly they just touch wheels. It's just marginal, but obviously sends him into a spin, and that's, I think, both of their days ruined from that point. There was no penalty on this, so I just wanted to go to you, Eddie, just to get your view on that. Did you see that as a racing incident?
I'm trying to remember how it happened exactly, because we saw the onboard real quick, but it took quite a while until they showed us. So I'm trying to remember the replay, but yeah, obviously if it's a racing incident, it's a racing incident, and there have been many during the season. I'm not gonna try to form an opinion because I just don't exactly remember how the crash happened, but unfortunately. But the one thing that I'm gonna say is, if Piastri loses the championship because of an Alpine, it really is screwing his life over.
Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, it happened obviously on their lap 7. So by that point, you're probably getting the blanket up and ready for that nap for the next hour or so. But yeah, it was at the edge of the corner. Like, Hulkenberg was so far ahead. He was almost thinking about turn 2. He couldn't have gone further left. I don't from my perspective, I don't see, and I wonder whether Louis is going to agree with me at least on this one point. I don't see how they couldn't look at that and go, Gasly could have done more. He's Hulkenberg giving him the entire inside of the corner, and he still run into him. But their excuse that it was a racing incident basically said, oh well, he was on lock, he didn't straighten the wheel. And I'm like, well, he didn't turn it enough, if anything, or he didn't slow down enough. Do you agree with that, Louis, or did you think no, racing incident was the right call on that one?
I'm in the middle between the both of you, because I'm more leaning towards your side, but I also tend to watch the broadcast from the F1 TV app. So I saw both Hulkenberg's onboards and Gasly. He understeered. I saw clear as day. He moved the wheel a little bit to the left and then to the right. He started to go towards Nico by the end of the first quarter. So technically it is a racing incident, but Pierre never turned the wheel like the way he was turning over the previous few laps. It wasn't enough angle applied. So maybe he was attempting to run Nico wide enough so he would keep position, but maybe too little too late. Nico had more momentum going around the outside and they touched. So feels more like a racing incident, but if we want to play, blame at somebody, would be Pierre on this incident. But it's literally 50-50. You can argue for both sides.
And I think a lot of fans have been calling more for racing incidents lately, so maybe that impacted it. I think a lot of people were quite glad that this one was given as a racing incident. I just saw it maybe more warranting of a penalty than some of the incidents that probably should have been a racing incident before it, that we've seen in Las Vegas and before that in Mexico as well. But nonetheless, that of course brought out the safety car. Now, if you're working in a Formula One team, whether you're a strategist, an engineer, a mechanic, whoever you might be, a driver, no doubt on Sunday morning you would have sat down and had countless meetings about what you would do under a safety car. If it came out on lap 2, you go, can't really make something of it because of this 25 lap maximum stint they had to do on the Pirelli tyres. But someone must have said in that meeting, well, what happens if the safety car comes out on lap 7? And lo and behold, it comes out on lap 7. And I'm watching Piastri come round. I'm watching him thinking, well, he's going to pit. Lando might lose out here. And then Piastri carries on round. And I'm thinking, okay, right. Bit of a strange one. Verstappen pits, and I think, well, Lando's got to. We've obviously chosen Oscar to carry on. Here's the favoritism come to light because Lando's going to pit, and now he's going to finish second behind Max Verstappen. And then he carries on round as well. And then my world falls apart, and then we go to the end of the race, and nothing happens. So Abu Dhabi, right? So, I mean, you guys must have been watching that. Like, I obviously, like, my heart fell out my chest. It was like, what on earth am I watching? And that's someone sat at home. I think a lot of people were trying to say, like, is that right? Is it wrong? Maybe they made a masterstroke, but no one could really see it, especially when everyone else pitted and Verstappen's right on the gearbox of Lando Norris anyway. So, I mean, Eddie, thoughts when you saw the McLaren guys going around?
I was kind of confused that they were the only team not pitting, and I was trying to like figure it out if it was going to be, like you said, a master class, like master strategy, or a complete failure. And me and my friends were texting about it, saying, okay, they're either going to pull off the like craziest move and win this race, or it's going to burn down in flames. And as I was watching the race, you hear the commentators talking about it and saying they just flunked their strategy. And I was like, oh, okay, so it was not the best call. And just for fun, I decided to switch broadcast to a French-Canadian broadcast. You have the commentators saying the exact same thing. My friend, who watches the broadcast in French, but it's the Belgian broadcast, they were saying the exact same thing. Everyone was saying this was probably the worst strategy McLaren could have pulled off. So I was like, they're going to have to work so hard if they want to compensate for this. And when I heard the radio of Lando's engineer saying, yeah, we're going to have more flexibility, I literally started laughing so hard. And I was like, this is me trying to convince that everything is going fine and that I'm definitely going to succeed everything I want when my life is going in shambles. Like, this is the level of delusional and gaslighting is insane.
Yeah, I heard that flexibility, and I'm in WhatsApp groups with other McLaren fans, so immediately I'm like, my brain's racking through, okay, it's lap 8, 9, 10, whichever lap it was when the safety car is unleashed. And I'm like, right, if they can pull away now, then there might be a chance. I'm still sat there thinking, there's a chance, there's a way. If we do this, if this happens, we might still hold the cards. What if there's a late safety car? I wasn't ready to give up on the fact that this was just bone idle. We're going to do something completely different. Like, watch this and just do it the hard way. I mean, they're trying to win a 100-meter sprint and bring in their own hurdles. It kind of feels like, if you're not sure, at least split the strategy. But the one thing I want to tackle at this point was Sky Sports seemed very willing to turn around and go, well, this is papaya rules, isn't it? They didn't want to hurt one driver over the other. Louis, you sort of did like a little bit of a smirk, like you might agree with that. I'm going to go to you then and ask you, do you think this was hurting both their drivers to not hurt one over the other? Or do you think, what do you think if it's not that?
Man, most of the year we can argue that papaya rules, the idea was not affect both drivers if possible, and they fail at this pretty much every time they try to apply it in a neutral way, because one way or another you will benefit one of the drivers. There's no way to make both of them in the best possible strategy, to pit in a perfect way. It's always going to be variables. So the idea that this was papaya rules is just ridiculous, because both of them would be compromised for two reasons. One, there was a safety car. There's this unwritten rule in Formula One. If there is a safety car, there's not even way you to think, I'm going to stay to gain track position. It doesn't matter. It's a free pit stop with no loss of time. Formula One races are based on time. You need to gain time. You can lose. You can afford this luxury of losing time. And this strategy for McLaren was exactly this. They lost time for both drivers. And there's no way they're going to make it up. I was similar to you thinking, okay, maybe they can stretch a bit. The limit is 25 laps. They have the mediums. The softs, they tend to wear out faster, maybe 12, 13 laps. That's the parameter we saw from the few other drivers that went on softs. So maybe they can push the envelope to 26, maybe 27 laps if they push somewhat consistently and open enough of a gap. Because I was thinking, if they start to push and create enough of a gap for the midfield, they can come up between P7, P5, and still find a way to claw back the gap they lost from the safety car. That was my thinking. And because it's Qatar, we always saw tire failures. Independent if there is the limited laps, there is tire failures. So I was thinking, at some point, somebody's going to have a failure, and maybe that's when McLaren's going to strike back. That's my thought.
That's pretty much what Andrea said after the race, wasn't it? That they felt they put themselves in a better position if there was another safety car. Because as you say, they're saying, well, everyone else is now locked on their strategy. You know exactly when they're going to pit because of this 25-lap rule. And in my head, the only way I could justify it today when I was thinking about it is like, maybe they just forgot about this. You got a 2-stop rule, you know, this 25-lap effectively mean you got to 2-stop it. Because if they stayed out on track, and then even though they had 9-lap old tyres versus Verstappen's 2-lap old tyres, and they were able to pull a little bit of a gap in that first stint before that first stop, you'd think they could 1-stop it from here, and they're in prime position. They've gained track position. But that's only if you forget about the fact there's this 25-lap rule. They're not really pushing the tyres to the envelope. You know, they said the hard tyre could go 35 laps. So when they all put them on for the second stint later on, they could just push them as much as they liked. So it just felt a bit like it was missing something. I feel like I'm owed a few more answers, but at the same time, we'll never obviously get them out of McLaren. But one thing I feel certain of is that this wasn't anything to do with papaya rules. Everything they said afterwards was, we just felt that that was the decision to carry on, that we wanted track position. They'd obviously looked and seen how hard it was to overtake. And then it became a race of trying to recover the situation from there. And then, as you say, they're in a race, at least in that first stint, trying to beat Alonso and the Alonso train and getting out ahead of him, which they just, I mean, Piastri was a sign that because Piastri pitted 3.8 seconds ahead of Norris and only 1 lap difference. Yes, he'd had a 3.1 second pit stop, but I'm looking how close he came out compared to Alonso, thinking, there's no way. Norris is losing out, and he just came out just ahead. And I think their race, I want to say, like, salvaged something from that. We know they lost out, but that was crucial from there to what they could do. And again, my little positive brain going, okay, now there's only 2 cars ahead of them that are going to jump out of their way in 7 laps, and they caught them quickly. And I thought, now's our time to push. The hard tyre could be a terrible race tyre, and we're going to put the softs on, and we're still going to be quick. And that just didn't happen. Again, Eddie, you're watching Max Verstappen. He's put the hard tyres on. He catches that they're both making errors. They catch them, and you're thinking, this is like beyond your wildest dream. I'm imagining at this point, you're thinking, I can't believe how well everything is falling for Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I honestly had a little bit of trouble in, like, not imagining it, but I was like, I can't believe that you're so close to getting a championship, a double championship, and you failed this miserably because of a strategy error. And it happens. But in times where, like, strategy is everything and you can't afford to make a mistake, this does not pass. But I just have to say props to Red Bull strategist Hannah for pulling off this amazing strategy, because honestly, the time reaction of Red Bull deciding we're going to pit, and then everyone pitting right after, and them managing everything from then on, it was very impressive to watch.
Yeah, that's true. It was really good to see her on the podium as well, getting that recognition. I also think that was a bit of a F you to McLaren. Like, look at our strategists. look how amazing she is. She got the right call today.
I mean,
You didn't. I did think it was more of a barb at McLaren than anything, but nonetheless, take everything away from that. It was just great to see, obviously, a female role model once more on the podium.
in Qatar, of all races, where you sometimes know what's happening in this country, especially towards women, to see women on the podium, strategist, really like queen of Red Bull at this point,
Very
be
true.
on the
very,
podium.
very true.
It was really refreshing to see. It was nice. It was nice, and it sends a nice message for women in motorsport that you can actually make it.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Everything there. Yeah, it was so good to see her up there. And she's been in the limelight a few times, Hannah. She is a brilliant strategist, and she must be looking at Bernie Collins thinking, I could do that role if she wanted to after she's done, but she's still got so much to give to Formula One. I think she's very happy on the pit wall as well. So yeah, she offers a lot to that team. I'd love to see her in Papaya if she wants to transfer down the grid. There's a role there.
No.
Anyway, so just quickly to finish up on sort of the Papaya race, the McLaren boys. Towards the end of the race, we saw Verstappen being held up by Norris. And again, thinking of the positive, I was like, oh, maybe here you can just hold him up long enough to help Piastri get the win. Again, Louis, just on this point, soft tyres holding Verstappen up. Did you see any way that McLaren could have done better in their result, but didn't include just pitting on lap 7? Because that's the obvious answer that they've already ignored at this point.
Man, the thing is, pace-wise, we know McLaren was the better car. There's no denying that. We saw the gaps on qualifying. We saw the way they were pulling from the whole grid in less than 7 laps prior to the safety car. We saw that. If they had clear track advantage without anybody in front, the McLarens were gone. That's the truth. And during that time frame where Lando was just staying on track, completing the laps, and Max was racing as fast as he could, having GP on his ear saying, push, go flat out, don't care about the tires, go for it, go for it, go for it every single time, you kind of feel like the intensity that, is he pushing maybe too much? Can he get a failure on his tires? Is McLaren kind of hoping for that? That's why they stay long enough? Is that the kind of a flexibility they were waiting for? That's kind of thought started to come in, but the more we saw they were coming to the stops near the end of the race, we started to pause for a second and think, if they put the softs, they're screwed. The track is hot. They're going to eat those tires like they're nothing. And instead of gaining, they're going to lose in a few laps. So there's no sense they going to softs. They might go to medium. Even if they can go to medium, it's still going to be the same thing. They ain't going to get enough of a difference to make up for it. They need to go hards. They did go with hards, but maybe too little too late to make that big of a difference.
I think they simply saw how quick everyone else was on the hard tires and just went, we want some of them. I was, again, still surprised they didn't try and do something. It just felt like they just drove to obscurity. There was then one final flourish. We did see, because we got to talk about everything that happened on track, we did see Alonso spin at one point and let Russell through. And then other than that, Antonelli then made a mistake.
And Hadjar and Russell that passed him through when they did the 360 at the turn 10.
Was that what it was? I thought it was just Russell, but I've forgotten about that. And
Hadjar blew his front tire right off the curves into turn 9. I
saw a clip. I shared a clip of that today. You know, the little fence over the wheel that came loose, and you sort of see it do this, and it goes more and more, and then it just must have flicked the front tire as it came off. So it sort of shredded the front tire for him. Just really unfortunate. I thought the same thing. You see a car with a tire blow up and you're like, oh, it's not over yet, but no, it was some very real damage to the car
and he couldn't make it back to the pits, which I was thinking, he's still going at somewhat of an okay pace. It's not going to be a yellow flag anywhere near.
No, I was hoping, but I mean, can you imagine if it was a Red Bull driver, a V-carb driver that brought out the safety car that rescued McLaren's race?
No,
I was terrified this was going to happen.
The conspiracy theories would go insanely wild for all the wrong reasons.
They're already going wild as it is.
I was going to say this because we get to the sort of end of the race where Norris is trying to catch Antonelli and Sainz, in effect, and he had no route past Antonelli until Antonelli makes a mistake. Firstly, on the mistake, Eddie, I mean, it was just looks like towards the end of the race, just he's still 19 years old. He's made the smallest mistake into 9 or on the exit of 9, which had cost him through 10. I mean, it's a nothing thing, but it gives one of the quickest cars on the track, just lets them through in effect. Any notes on Antonelli himself before we talk about, unfortunately, the afters of that?
All I have to say is that the way that he defended Norris for a good part of the race, for like 6-7 laps, it was very impressive for a kid in his rookie season, just freshly an adult, who is driving one of the top 4 cars. He's like second best car on the grid, defending from the best car on the grid and championship leader, and keeping his cool like that. And yes, he makes a little mistake. Everyone makes mistake. It's his rookie season. You can't be mad against him. Obviously, it's frustrating. Frustrating for the team, frustrating for the championship. But it happens. It could have happened to anyone. It could have happened to Sainz had he been in Antonelli's position. It could have happened to Max. It could have happened to anyone to make that kind of mistake. And I think that what Kimi did was really, really impressive for a kid that could have easily been 10 times more scared and had just decided to let Norris pass through. And he didn't. He defended as much as possible, made a little mistake. It happens. It's racing.
And I mean, we saw how good he was defending at Brazil. I can't remember who I gave my driver of the day to, but he was certainly in that fight for me there because he was just so good at defending. He was so good in that
You just
space.
don't want to say you give to Max because we stole all your picks.
I think you sure I didn't give it to Lando Norris? Because he was pretty perfect that weekend.
She chose Lando. I went for Kimi. You were only left with Max.
Well, that's because you've taken the other two that I would have given it to. So anyway, if I didn't have my first 2 picks taken, I'd been left there. As I say, I had Lando Norris and Kimi, and then you made me pick my 3rd pick. But anyway, I mean, he's in that fight, I think, for Rookie of the Year. A lot of people seem to have written him off and gone, yeah, but you can't look past Oli Behrman. You've got to look at the car. Antonelli's he's in a Mercedes. He should be winning championships. I mean, I think, although he's not going to directly fight with the other rookies, because they don't have the same car as him, I still think his performances have warranted his name in the ring. So that's going to be one of the off-season episodes, is surely going to be pulling apart the rookie seasons and trying to come up with the order of them. Maybe like the first 20 seconds, we'll just say, and Colapinto also in that fight.
And Doohan.
I forgot about Doohan. Yeah. That could be like the first 2 minutes. Which of those was worse? And then we'll get to the
Who the hell cares about Doohan?
I do. I was really excited to see him this season until...
I didn't give a damn about Jack Doohan.
Mick Doohan was probably pretty happy as well. So Jack and Mick Doohan. Yes. So we'll get into that. So yeah, Antonelli, one of the rookies of the year, 19-year-old. And then, unfortunately, we got to talk about one of the real negatives for me. There was quite a few negatives. This race being dull, things like this.
This is easily
Antonelli makes the mistake, and then just the complete unnecessary radio message from JP to Max, GP, sorry, Giampiero, to Max to say, oh, I don't know what happened to Antonelli there. He just moved aside for Lando Norris. And I'm thinking, like, straight away, obviously I'm in a bad place with where McLaren were this race, but I just thought, why are you commenting on that? That's not going to go well. And so far, Mercedes have tracked like over 1,000 messages they've had to forward to the FIA to say he's getting abused, he's getting horrible comments. And not least, then on top of that, because Helmut Marko does his thing that he likes to do and goes, oh yeah, I'll comment on that. Yeah, give me a microphone. I'll talk about it as the dinosaur in the room. I mean, Eddie, I'm going to go to you with this. We spoke a little bit about this before. It's just unnecessary. It's caused so much hate. We've sort of seen an apology, but we haven't heard those words really from Red Bull on this.
We never will.
We never will. We spoke about like online bullying with the drivers back when we did the Miami podcast, and there were rumors about Jack Doohan being replaced by Call Up Into at that time. And I said it once, I said it again. Sending death threats to a driver is never okay. Sending hate online to a driver, you can dislike a driver. It's completely fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But going to the point of sending literal death threats and angry messages at that driver for making one mistake, that's unacceptable. I get that there are things that are said in the heat of the moment, and Jean-Pierre's radio could have been that, but it was completely unnecessary. Helmut Marko's comments, completely unnecessary, should have never happened. This was after the race. This was after the videos were reviewed. He had no right to say anything about that, especially not since Kimi had an amazing season so far, and that we know that Max, as a rookie, also made mistakes like that. And everyone was insulting Max when he was a rookie, and now everyone's insulting Kimi. I find it so sad, and I'm trying to remember what I was about to say. But all I want to say is, like, it should not have reached this point, and there is no valid reason for Kimi to be helping a driver, which is not his teammate, from another team in a championship. That he's, if it had been Russell, team orders, let him pass. Your teammate is still in the championship contention. That would have been more understandable. It's another driver from another team, and he's leading the championship right now. Kimi had no reason to even remotely want to help Lando in this, especially knowing the special relationship that Kimi has with Max. Like, Max is basically Kimi's mentor at this point. They are close. And everyone knows that. Mercedes knows it. Red Bull knows it. And I think that's why it makes the comments 10 times worse. Because why would Kimi want to intentionally screw up the guy that has been there for him since the beginning of the season and has believed in him, supported him, seen him after every race, went to see him after Austria, reassured him that it was fine, that he understood? Why would they add fuel to the fire that's already been lit up? I did not understand that move from Red Bull. It was really poor from them. And I'm really sad that this all happened to Kimi, and I am only sending him love, and he does not deserve all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just baseless, wasn't it? And I don't know whether, obviously, the transmission was just cut, but I'm pretty sure that Max would have heard that radio and just thought, I'm not getting involved in this. Like, he didn't need to say anything, and he's thinking, why am I hearing this? And I want to talk to the good side of Max there in saying that he just stayed well away and didn't go, oh God, or just even anything on it. And the only links that people have got that have made these kind of claims and done these and caused these kind of threats is because it's a Mercedes powered car in the McLaren, or because 2021 and Mercedes are still holding a grudge. I mean, there was no radio message. There was no anything. It was very clearly a mistake. I don't want to see it. And it is absolute proof that Formula One has reached this sort of, in the fandom anyway, in a lot of it has reached this toxic state. And just want to obviously reiterate from this podcast that we do not condone any of that. Never have, never will. We joke about things that go on, but we'll never get to the point of booing a driver or wishing harm on them or anything like that. And certainly not death threats because they made a mistake as a 19-year-old. I mean, the mistakes I made as a 19-year-old, it wasn't anything to do with this. And it's a sport. It's a sport at the end of the day. He's out there doing the best that he can, driving a car. I mean, if you want to get mad at something, get mad at politics. I don't know, something that actually matters. That's not Formula One. So
even if it had been a jab at 2021, it still makes no logic, because why would have we seen pictures of Toto Wolff talking to Max Verstappen right after qualifying? They are friendly.
Yeah.
Yes, they're rivals, but they also are friendly. Like, and correct me if I'm
really
wrong, but the
liked-
drivers that were in the team in 2021 are not even with Mercedes anymore, except maybe
No.
Russell. Was he with Mercedes at that point, or was it Bottas?
No.
No,
It was
still
Bottas, right? Okay,
was 22.
so
there is no reason to have like some heat. Maybe if like it had been like Hamilton trying to like block Max in the race, okay, maybe more understandable, blah 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 2021. But this has nothing to do with 2021. None of the drivers that were there in 2021 are still there. Yes, it might be the same team principal, but that team principal is friendly with Max and has thought about bringing him to Mercedes countless
Plus,
times.
Horner is not on Red Bull anymore. So every
Exactly.
single team principal said the environment on the pit wall, on a paddock, everywhere is better because Horner is out. There's unanimous feeling that Horner was the instigator for most of the issues on the paddock and the rivalries, the bitterness. So him gone, we talked on off on social medias, and we saw that there is genuine change in Red Bull since Lauren Mackey's came in. There is
Mhm.
change.
performance
from-
and atmosphere, I think.
Everything is different about Red Bull. Apart from the unnecessary dinosaur gorilla wannabe acting. Jesus,
It's time for Helmut to just. I mean, he's
Just like in
what is
politics,
his reason? What does he add to Red Bull? He
No,
adds nothing, and
exactly.
every now and again he
There's
gets a microphone, and every time he does, it's a mistake. Just retire the man, please. Like,
Just
doesn't
like
have to be
politics.
unceremoniously. Just move.
I
his butt, just say
I've
no.
said the same. I've said the same for
fire
politics.
him.
There should
Just
be an
send him
age.
to the asylum already.
Yeah, no, there should be an age where you have to retire from your job. Like in politics, anyone over like the age of 70 should be not in politics. Same thing
Okay.
with F1. If you can't
Yeah.
appease and appeal to the younger generation, get out. You have
Absolutely.
no purpose here except spreading hate.
We know that the biggest well of toxicity inside Red Bull is Helmut Marko. We saw from every single driver that was part of the team that left, they say Helmut is the worst to deal with. Constantly phone calls, threats, pressure, mind games. How can you actually help a driver perform if you constantly make him feel uncomfortable?
This is the
I
guy.
And do you know what? As well, people will say to the answer to this is, well, he's part of like the driver development. He brings drivers along. Well, he doesn't help any of them ever. You know, he seems to
He
like
has a good eye.
belittle them. You know,
Let's
like,
give the man the flowers that he deserves. He has good eye for talent, but
One
he
good
doesn't
eye.
know how
Does
to
he?
treat talent.
but does he? But does he? Tell me
Yes.
the last
No,
time
but this
they
is the
brought
same
a driver
man.
up
This
through
is the
the
same
ranks.
man. This is the same man that said
Verstappen,
after
Lando.
Hadjar.
Hang on, let
Lawson.
Eddie say.
This is the same man after Hadjar crashed in Australia that said that Hadjar was a C-tier driver, and months later said he's our best driver right now for Red Bull, and I love him very much. How two-faced is this?
That's
How
exactly what I was gonna say
shitty of a
about Australia.
person are you to say bad things about your driver and then
Australia
turn
was
around
exactly the point
first
I was going
race?
to make.
First race, you shit on your driver that you brought, and then few races later you say, "Oh, I love Hadjar." No, this is such a two-faced, shitty ass. I'm sorry for my language. Behavior.
He deserves it.
Absolutely,
He's-
absolutely. See, only person on the paddock that deserves a hate. It's him.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you brought up Australia. That's the point I was getting to. You know, you've got a driver who's made his debut. He's in tears. You got Anthony Hamilton, who's got nothing to do with that driver
Nothing.
at all. Does the right thing and just goes up to him and says, "Look, you'll have other days. This is just a day. This is just one of those races. You put it behind you. Next week you'll be." And he's had the season of his. I was going to say season of his career, but yeah, he's
having a
himself
breakout
from that.
season. Let's
He's
be
going to be a
real.
Red Bull driver. He's going to be announced as a Red Bull driver tomorrow, Tuesday, I think. Pretty sure I
It
saw that.
already is announced.
So,
It's already confirmed.
so
He's a
not
Red Bull
confirmed,
driver.
but I'm
No,
pretty
it is.
sure I heard Tuesday.
Not confirmed.
that he'll
Not
be-
confirmed, but we're
he'll
not
be
going to be
moved
surprised when he is.
It's already confirmed. It's Lindblad, Lawson, and Hadjar and Verstappen.
I
I would
yeah,
not be
but
surprised.
not from the tip. When we say confirmed, we mean from the tip. Like
From the
many
team.
sources have said, that's what it will be. They've said that for months, but apparently Tuesday it will be official from the team. So yeah, we're retiring helmet marker. Brilliant. Just to get back to the final sort of point from this race, it's a good point because there wasn't many. Sainz getting on the podium. Let's just sort of wrap up the race review on there. Very happy to see him up there. Had to fight all sorts of demons with that car towards the end. It wouldn't turn right, which is very hurtful on a track. Made mostly of right corners. He did very well. Managed the race and just brought home third place. Another popular podium for him. You just hear the crowd when he's on the podium and he gets that moment to say, yes, I'm here. And he gets the microphone. He just has to wait a second, goes, yep, I didn't hear you because they're just loving me. And so that was just perfect.
Man, I think Carlos is probably one of the very few drivers nobody dislikes. There's no hate around Carlos. Not from drivers, not from teams, not from fans. It's just unanimous. Every single fan likes Carlos. They cheer for Carlos.
Do you know why I think that is? Look at where his career's taken him. Okay, started at Red Bull, in effect.
STR.
Went to Renault, went to McLaren, went to Ferrari, is now at Williams. There's some big teams in there.
And the size effect. There's the size effect that now he actually started to believe that every team he got in, and they were in a better position when he left than when he came in.
Exactly.
So there is a genuine effect.
So you have the fans of all of those teams saying we were better off when he was here. And now since he's gone, maybe they've not dropped, McLaren fans aren't sat there going, man, I wish we had Sainz back. I still feel like we got better drivers. But the team that he came into was not the team that he left. We were so much better off when he was there. But more so when he signed, he was with us for 2 years. When he signed, I was excited about Lando Norris. Sainz just felt like, well, we've got to hire a second driver. And very quickly became recognized that no, he's the senior and he's a really good driver.
I still remember that 2019 season from him. He was the total dark horse. Nobody expected anything from him, especially McLaren. They were the dark horses the whole year. And Carlos just pulling those heavyweight performances basically week in and week out with that car. It just felt like the perfect marriage. Him on that McLaren, the MCL 34, man, dare I say, is one of the prettiest cars we ever saw from Formula One in a long time.
It was the first time as McLaren fans we sort of believed, like when we got that podium in Brazil. I think that was like the first one. That was before the Monza races, because Sainz almost won. He finished second, didn't he, in 2020? Yeah. So we had some almost races throughout, but that podium in Brazil was the first time you go, okay, we've got something in Sainz here, and we're on our way back to the front. We're not just going to celebrate when we get two cars onto the start grid anymore. So Williams is a team, Sainz is a driver that just everyone loves, and it's just this partnership that is just flourishing. So I think everyone was so happy to see them in third. And maybe this is a brilliant segue into the last question I always ask on any Grand Prix review. I'm going to start with you, Eddie. I want your driver of the weekend and highlight of the weekend.
I think I'm going to go with, honestly, Sainz as my driver of the weekend.
It's funny that you say that. It's not like I teed it up or anything.
But no, it was an incredible race that he had, and he really deserved that podium. And honestly, he had that mentality at the beginning of the season saying, okay, I'm going into a team that may be less performing than Ferrari. It's going to be a tedious ride. It's not going to be a piece of cake. And he's making the most of it. And I think he's the happiest and the most relaxed we've seen him in a while. Like at Ferrari, yes, he had wins, and yes, but he knew that he was not driver number one, and he knew that the team would always favor Charles. At Williams, there's this feeling of family. Like, yes, both our drivers are equal, but we're not making it like difficult to prove this compared to one certain papaya team. But it feels like he's finally at a team that will prioritize him if needed, but will also not like overshadow the other driver. And for him to believe in the rebuilding of this team and putting efforts in terms of like engineering, giving feedback, giving everything he needs to have that car and bring the team where it is right now. I think it's wonderful, and honestly, props to him for this amazing season with a new team, with a new car, with everything new. And yeah, I tip my hat off. It's been an amazing weekend, and that podium just proves why he's in Formula One, why he's he is where he is right now. And yeah, I'm really excited things are going well for him.
And that result also secures 5th in the constructors for them, which I think is a brilliant effort. When you look at like the top 4, I mean, if they got anywhere near them, that would be like a giant slaying for where they are
behind Ferrari. They're right behind Ferrari. That's insane.
And considering let's be honest, the hype behind Ferrari from the start of the year, and literally no expectations at all from Williams, they are literally the giant killers this season.
It's already like 5th behind them, as you say, is already a serious result, and they'll be looking at next year thinking, rule change, can we go even higher? And we hope they will. Maybe like everyone's hoping they'll come second, to your team, obviously. Like I'll always McLaren first, but if Williams was second, I'd take that. Louis, driver of the weekend from you.
Man, I'm gonna say Oscar Piastri. But I'm gonna say it with a bit of a asterisk applied to him. It was great to see him back in form. It took him a long time to finally get back in form that we saw from the beginning of the season, that we thought, man, he's gonna run away with this title. He was consistent, he was fast, he was meticulous. That was the vibe we were getting from him from the beginning of the season. To suddenly his collapse over the last few months, consecutive races, he either did not finish or qualified poorly, or the race was horrendous. He was not looking like the driver that were built for us, like this cold-minded killer that could simply go on a track and extract everything and just be there when you least expect it. The silent assassin, as I saw some people commenting that he was the new Iceman.
He was, he was so calm, wasn't he, early part of the season, when I think everyone came into the season thinking Lando Norris is the favourite and Piastri's just going to have to sort of roll over and accept that. He got the new contract and he just came into it and said, no, there's 2 McLaren drivers and I can win races. Even though Australia didn't go his way, he used that as fuel, didn't he, to start his season, took the lead, he led it for so long. It has sort of ruptured a bit, but if anywhere you want to come to sort of reignite and remind yourself that you are worthy of being in that three-way fight come this weekend, Qatar's the place. He was just on fire. You've taken my driver of the weekend, by the way. I'm very annoyed because I was thinking everyone would just ignore him, but no, he was absolutely perfect, I think. Obviously, that decision wasn't his call, but to even come away with second place as like his worst result, I think, in any session across the weekend was like perfect.
Impressive.
Exactly what he needed.
And it was refreshing to see him have such a great weekend after the last 2 weekends that he's had. And I was finding it really nice that he actually tried to salvage the strategy mistake from McLaren and asking, okay, guys, hit me earlier. I will try to go chase Verstappen. I will try to go catch him. He took the matters in his own hands, tried to salvage it, and was like, okay, bad strategy. What's next? Let's try to do it. Let's try to salvage it. Obviously, he was mad at the team, but the fact that he just tried to take the matters into his own hands and try to salvage it, it was a really good call. And honestly, it was refreshing to see him like have a good weekend after the last few weekends that he's had.
That is a fired up driver right there, isn't it? One that wants to go and chase. And if you'd said, say, the Mexico Grand Prix weekend, if you'd said that Oscar Piastri was going to react in Qatar with a "I'm speechless" to second place, you'd think that speechless would be like "I'm over the moon" kind of speechless, not a "we're not talking" kind of speechless. So
but let's talk about how he rebuilt his mindset. I don't know if you guys saw his interview saying that the call in Monza affected him. He started to develop paranoia. He stopped trusting the team. He wasn't properly focusing on driving because he already put on his mind, I'm not equal. I'm not a priority. I'm not a focus. I'm just an asset for somebody else. He said it on the interview, and it took him that long to rebound. But maybe he took that bit too long to shake it off and just say, man, I need to forget this and get back on track. I'm not just driving for any race team. I'm not just driving around to score points. I'm driving for McLaren. We're the world champions, and I'm fighting for a world championship. He bounced back a little too late. Maybe if he won the race, I wouldn't even be argumenting this. But 16 points behind Lando is just too much of a gap to make in one race. There's literally no realistic way to, in a format that a race could end.
We'll
we can
look
catch.
into what each driver needs to do this weekend in a second, but I agree, but I do find that there's some belief from the words that Andrea Stella has said and kind of proven in saying these tracks that we've been to recently just don't suit his driving style. That happens to a driver. They arrive somewhere and you go, this track's going to suit them. We arrived in Qatar and it was a different perspective and different dialogue completely around Piastri. It wasn't, can he get back? It was like, no, this is like his home turf. This is Piastri land. You know, if any track was going to suit him, this was going to be it. And he went out there and basically showed exactly that. And it's very difficult to think about Abu Dhabi and think, is that a Piastri track or is it a Norris track or is it a Verstappen track? Because last year, obviously, he was removed from that equation very early on. So we've not really seen him attack that track, but there's no reason to believe he couldn't go out there and win now and at least take it on. So I haven't done a driver of the weekend. I wish I hadn't reminded you guys of that because I actually can't really think. It was honestly that sort of dull a race. I can't think of anyone having done anything where I'm like, that was brilliant. It's only when you're remembering people and going, that was a bit dumb. That was a bit silly.
I have a suggestion for you. You might not like it because you're telling me to constantly forget about him. Give it to the GOAT. Give it to Alonso.
But he spun. The only thing of note was that he spun and lost 2 places. I can't give it to him for spinning and losing 2 places. It was, I'll give it to Alonso. It was his best looking session. I mean, Tsunoda got to SQ3. He was ahead of Max. I mean, that to me would have been brilliant if he'd done something the rest of the Grand Prix weekend. But then he went back. He forgot he couldn't possibly have 2 good qualifying sessions in a row. It's got to go to Alonso or Antonelli. You know, it's just the race was that bad to me. It was just like there's so little to pull apart in positive. But we're going to try to now because we've got to look at our highlight of the weekend.
Is Fernando Alonso. Thank you very much.
So, Louis, you're Mr. Positive then. Give us your highlight of the weekend first.
Oh, boy. Highlight of the weekend. I think is easily to say the fake highlight of the weekend than the actual highlight would be Yuki. The fake highlight of the weekend would be Yuki, which is a shame. Being quite honest, it's quite a shame.
Okay, just leaving it there. No explanation on that one. Just a fake highlight.
You kind of stole the explanation from me. He surprised everybody all qualifying Max on the sprint, and we actually thought, "Wow, can this actually be one good race from him since Baku?" And on the sprint list, it looked great. On quali, it was the same. And on the race, I don't know if he made positions because I didn't actually pay much of attention to him on the time boards. If he made moves or if he just profited from the cars that was just taken out of the races. But I think he was finished 10th or 9th.
He finished 10th, didn't he, after Hajar fell out the points.
That's true.
He got 1 point, which is 1 point more than we've come to expect of him lately. So, I mean, out qualifying Verstappen, lets him through almost immediately without Max having to come on the radio. I mean, you can't ask more as a Red Bull second driver, can you? Eddie, what was your highlight of the weekend?
Or fake highlight?
I mean, seeing my favorite driver win and extend the championship down to the last race. I think even if it hasn't like you can't script that. You can't. It almost feels like it's scripted. It almost feels like it's like too good to be true.
We know there is a possibility you can script something and it's just gonna be found out 20 freaking years later, Singapore crash gate.
Well, yeah,
But,
there's that, isn't there? I mean, yeah, when Michael Massey's NDA expires, will be
think-
stories. But I'm like that's my one take from Abu Dhabi. If McLaren do something, botch it, goes Verstappen's way, I just do not want to see any kind of outside interference, shall we call it. I just want it to be a straight fight.
Absolutely. And I think that's what it will be. I think obviously the FIA will have to do what it has to do in terms of like penalties if needed be.
Oh yeah.
But you can't give a championship to a driver. You can't gift it. And all those theories of saying, oh, the FIA disqualified both the McLarens and Vegas to gift Max the championship. Come on, guys. Go touch some grass. Go touch some grass. There's no way in hell that anyone would approve of this, saying, oh, we're going to script this entire thing and have one driver win it at the end of the season.
And it would be easy, wouldn't it, for McLaren to just go and disprove that and go, look, here's our plank and it's 9.2 mil thick. Go figure.
Exactly.
They just turned around and went, no, we watched them do it. It was 8.88 millimeters thick and that's that. We're out. So it's just ridiculous. Some of the claims are. I also mean by that, I don't mean like sudden safety cars or sudden safety cars ending. Shall we just say that's the most I'll say on that. But I also mean I don't want like a 3-car pile up because Lando's just forgotten to brake at turn 1 or any kind of collision. I just want it to be the quickest person wins the race and wins the championship. End of. So that's got to be my highlight. I think that we've got this championship finale set up just right. I think you
maybe not as tight we would like to be, because let's be real, is more championships to lose is more Norris, Hendon, Oscar, and Max.
It's going to be a big question if Max Verstappen wins the championship, right? Both Oscar and Lando can turn and look at about 4, 5, 6 races this year and go, that would have given me the championship. That would have given it. That would have given it. That would have given it. If Max Verstappen doesn't win the championship, he won't have that same list. He'll go, okay, I lost a couple of points in Spain. And that's really it. I mean, I've said maybe like a year ago, to beat Red Bull, you have to be perfect because they don't leave anything on the table. If you make mistakes, they just walk through it and take everything.
And let's be real, apart from excluding the idiocy that was Spain and Max going out of his mind for some reason, something that he rarely does nowadays. He's not crash stopping like he used to be. He is literally just a machine. There's no way you can beat a guy like Max without being picture perfect every single weekend. Even if his car is not the best, he's not somebody you can say, oh, he's not going to win. Are you sure? There's no debate. He is the best driver on the grid. He might not have the best car, but he definitely has a better team around him to give him every single tool needed to fight. And we've seen this. The way Red Bull started, the car was not good. It was Max pulling the weights. Now the car is better, and Max is actually pulling more performances out of it than maybe what it could do.
The only caveat I would say to that is that a lot of people would say that Red Bull has been a dog. And I don't think it's been quite as slow as some people would say during the season. But there's certainly been times where the McLaren is that much faster. They're in a league of their own. And then he's been the one that goes, okay, I need to get third here because that's the best result of the day. And that's where he maximizes everything. And I also had it pointed out that would Max, if given the call to stay out last night in Qatar, would he have stayed out? No, he would have been down that phone screaming at the team and just pitted and let them decide what they're going to do and go, no, I'm here. I'm pitting. I've taken this upon myself. Something that clearly Lando and Oscar didn't do. So one final question then let's go to Eddie. Haven't heard from you for a little while, quietly, patiently waiting for your turn. Abu Dhabi, the route to the final. You're backing Max Verstappen. How does he go and win this championship then? How do you see Abu Dhabi playing out?
It's not going to be easy. That's for sure. Lando needs to finish
Third.
at least, at the most, to win it. It's not going to be easy. But I think the one thing that can make the difference and has made the difference those past 2 races is that Max does not give 2 shits if he wins or not. He's got 4 championships already in the bank. For him right now, it's just for fun. It's just having fun, enjoying this competition, enjoying the fact that he had a comeback and that he's still in this race. He is not worried in the slightest of what happens. He said it multiple times in interviews. I don't think about losing, but realistically, this is the most that I can do. This is the most that can happen, and I'll try to maximize it. But whatever happens, happen. If I win, I win. Amazing. 5 is better than 4. But if I don't, if I lose it, it's fine as well. Everyone in this championship deserves it. So I think that this is the big difference between Max and the 2 McLaren drivers, is that Max has this serene mindset going into Abu Dhabi of whatever happens, happens. The 2 McLarens are 2 drivers that have not won a championship yet, that for the first time since they started driving, especially Lando Norris, actually have a chance at having their maiden championship. And I am sure that this could be the key point that decides that how they're going to manage their stress. And I think also it's going to be how McLaren as a whole decides to manage themselves. It's now been 2 races where they messed up somewhere. This is definitely going to play out on the stress levels. It's definitely going to play out on the mind. It's pretty much just mind games at this point. And I think that this could be the key point that could tip the championship in either Lando's favor, Oscar's favor, or Max's favor. So I'm really excited because it's a weekend of yes, maybe the odds are maybe more in Lando's favor in terms of where he needs to finish to win that championship, but anything can happen from then on.
That pass on Antonelli was so crucial to me. The fact that if Max won and he came 3rd, he wouldn't be champion. It means it's not in his, do you understand what I mean when I say it's not in his hands, but more he had to think about what the other 2 were doing and where they were and permutations. Now, if he's 3rd place, doesn't matter. They can be first. I think that's crucial, that big difference, because I think now, if I'm Lando Norris, I'm approaching this weekend and saying, Max needs to win, Piastri needs to win, I don't need to win. Not that you ever target 3rd, but I just think, in my head, I'd just be thinking, survived turn 1. If that means he runs off track, whatever he needs to do to avoid a collision, because I think pole position might just be the worst place for him to start. I genuinely do. He'll be thinking in his head that's what he's going to target, because then you can run and hide. But you never know. I just got the feeling he'll say, do you know what, let Piastri, let Max, let them do the hard racing, because any kind of collision between those 2 and it's game over. So they won't risk that. But he can just follow them home, watch it happen, have the best seat in the house, and then take the crown. That's the way I see this race going. I can see either Piastri or Verstappen winning this race, Lando coming 3rd. That's how I see it. But obviously there's a lot of racing to happen before then. Louis, any final points from yourself before we close off this episode?
Just adding to what both you and Eddie talked about, in pointing something very specific. Every single time there was a championship dispute in Abu Dhabi, out of turn 1, the pole sitter was never the one leading the race. You can actually check that. It's never happened. And I can go back. 2014, Rosberg did pole. Lewis got the better start because it was P2 on the racing line and passed him into turn 1. 2021, Lewis was 2nd, Max won pole. He passed him into turn 1 because he had a better start, was on the racing line. And the same thing happened in 2024. There was no championship fight, but still, the McLaren were on pole. Max was right behind. He had a better start. So strategically speaking, if you want to have a better shot at winning, pole position is not the best position. It's P2. So going for pole technically would give you the better position in terms of track, But in terms of the most crucial aspect on Abu Dhabi, that is the race start, you want to be at least P2. That's not something that you can play strategically. It's something that's going to happen naturally. And when you said about
I feel
playing,
like there's a big statistic. I can't remember how many exactly it is, but I think it's only once this race has not been won from the front of the grid. So
yes,
as in once front row of the grid, sorry, first or second has won all but one race, and we've been racing here since 2009. So I mean, you've got to be first or second, unless you're Lando thinking let them duke it out. But if he's second, he'll take that. I'm certain all day long he'll go, brilliant. I'm sort of in the fight that I don't need to be in.
and that's
Getting back
where I
into
think
the lead.
that kind of a thought, especially for a driver, I think it's the most dangerous. When a driver is in a certain way, in a comfortable spot to clinch a championship, he's more susceptible for mistakes than any other because he's starting. I hope he's not, but he's starting to feel a little bit too comfortable and too confident that he cannot make anything wrong because he has the buffer. The thing is, though, Lando has more to lose in this if Max wins than he thinks. It's 12 points, okay. It's a good enough manageable gap if he is inside the top three. If he finishes fourth and Max win, it's count back on wins. And right now, prior to Abu Dhabi, they're all tied on 7 wins each. 7 Max, 7 for Lando, 7 for Oscar. But if Max wins the race and he gets the 12 points over Lando, they tie. And Max gets the tiebreaker because the first counts is for wins. It's 8-7. So Lando cannot play that comfortably in terms of track performance.
I agree with that. I don't think he goes into the race aiming for third. I just see that as like his safety net, that he knows
Yes.
that if he can get in the top two, fine. But they have to arrive needing that win, and they're going to fight. If they're second place, they've got nothing to lose by being there, so they're going to go for that lunge, could do that move that Lando just does not need to do, and that's the difference. That sort of the desperation of second. And it's almost like if he lets Piastri and Verstappen battle it out, that's advantage Norris, I think. So, hey, it's all to play for. As I say, it's certainly one of the most exciting finale setups that I can think of for a good number of years. Even going into 2021, I was sort of tired of the season before we got to that race. It had been just a sort of dirtied battle, if you like. This doesn't feel like it's been as bad, but you have to go back as far as 2010. I think it was the last time we had more than two drivers battling it out.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward. Don't get me wrong, I'm nervous as anything. Eddie will back me up and sort of know where I'm going on that.
At the beginning of the race yesterday in Qatar, I felt like I was going to throw up. I was texting my mom. I was like, I'm probably going to be sick. I'm not feeling okay. My heart is going to have a heart attack.
I was
probably emotionally numb because I said multiple times coming here to talk with you guys that I didn't give two damns about who would win this championship prior to Max joining the fight, because this is not a championship fight between two drivers. This is a championship fight to see who's the team going to screw first. And that legitimately annoyed me for the most part of the year. Like I said, there's this expression in Brazil that they are acting like two pussies. I'm literally translating because the expression is bunda moles. It's like people who do not have the presence, the presentation, or the way you look at him is not somebody that's presenting himself like, I want to win a world championship. It's like a bonus trophy, a participation thing for them. It doesn't feel like a need to validate themselves as a driver.
No, I was glad, at least, like, again, watching Mercedes in 2014, 15, 16, when they had the outright best car, at least fight each other. And I kind of felt like that's where we were with McLaren, that we had the best car. At least we're letting the two race. You know, if Norris walked it or Piastri walked it, it would be like right now we wouldn't have a championship fight if they picked one or the other. It doesn't matter which. So no, I'm really glad, and we'll obviously be talking about it. We'll record on Sunday after the race. I say, straight fight. Look forward to it. So we will see you then
if you'd have told me like before the season start, like during the mid-season, that I would find it exciting and we would have like a 3-way finale for the championship, I would have been like, nah, this is impossible. This is not happening. This season is so boring right now.
I said that in Singapore. I said, wait till we get to Austin and it'll be over. And yeah, here we are. So
I
yes.
just hope there's nothing like the NASCAR finale. If you remember, I just hope there's not anything remotely similar to that.
No, same. Absolutely, guys. Thank you both for joining me, tearing apart. We've managed to talk for far longer and keep more interest than I ever had throughout the Qatar Grand Prix. It wasn't the best, but it set us up for what's going to be an exciting finish. Thank you to everyone that's listening, watching, whatever way you're enjoying this podcast. Please do the liking, sharing bit that I am terrible at asking. I'm terrible at sharing and saying I'm on a podcast.
We try or change.
Just tell like one person, go to the news agent when you buy a newspaper and just say, oh, by the way, if you watch Formula One, then yeah, just tell one person and we'll get this podcast like up to a few people. But if you enjoy what we're doing, then comment, let us know, tell us. I've got an email address, you could write in, tell us what we should do over the winter, all that lovely stuff. We'll be joined after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to discuss the champion and this season, and we've got content over the winter. But for now, thank you very much for listening. Good night, good morning, whichever time you're listening, and of course, as always, see you spoon.